Girls Are Powerful became my other world, where I wanted to ensure that girls knew that they had everything that they needed and we can all support each other.
Welcome to Flip Your Script, the podcast about life's critical turning points and how people find the inspiration and motivation to move forward and rewrite their unique stories. Flip Your Script is produced by Media Minefield, a public relations firm passionate about the power of sharing stories. Specializing in earned and social media, Media Minefield helps clients take control of their unique story and message. The show is hosted by Kristi Piehl, founder and CEO of Media Minefield, who flipped her script from an Emmy-winning journalist to a successful entrepreneur and speaker.
Research shows that by the time girls reach the age of 12, their self-esteem has significantly dropped. Shawntan Howell started to notice changes in her own daughter when she was 10 years old. Shawntan flipped her script and started a nonprofit called Girls Are Powerful to help young women own their power and embrace their individuality. Shawntan, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Tell me about the inspiration to launch the nonprofit, because so many moms see what you were seeing, but very few say, you know what, I'm going to launch something, I'm going to start something, and I'm going to make a huge difference. So what gave you the motivation to do that?
So it's a couple of things that kind of was at play at the time, right? So we really didn't start off with as a nonprofit. We started off as a inspirational product company. And in that conversation that I had with my daughter, I told her that she was beautiful, smart, confident, unique, and determined, and that she had this power that no one can take away from her. And I said, let's put that on a shirt so you are reminded. I want to just also make sure people understand that they also have this power. So we started off with inspirational products that I will say that she wore a good year, that by the end of the year, I had to ask if she had other clothes because she was walking around with her Girls Are Powerful, Girls Are Confident t-shirts. And I would say that it was really around just making sure that she was going to be okay. The inspiration kind of evolved, and I was a little bit more open as time went on that it was also for me and me finding my power, because in my corporate life, I was experiencing racial discrimination. And I felt as if I'm telling my daughter to own her power, and here I was not owning my own. And so I had to just kind of figure out a way to ensure that what I was experiencing, that my daughter doesn't experience either. So I wanted to create space that will allow for us to understand that we all can coexist together. We can work together. And so I created this, I call it my other world. Girls Are Powerful became my other world, where I wanted to ensure that girls knew that they had everything that they needed and we can all support each other. So it's so many different pieces now wrapped that I'm coming clean about in this work.
And just the name of it is, if you say that day after day, it starts to sink in, right? Girls are powerful. Girls are powerful.
Girls are
and
powerful.
when you talked about your corporate career briefly, but I have your background here. You didn't have like a sort of corporate career. You're a STEM person, computer science, statistics. You have a mini master of business administration for nonprofit organizations, master of project management certificate program. You were a fellow at 2 different places. I mean, you're a very accomplished woman. And to hear you say that you were struggling in the workplace is a little bit jarring, honestly, because I think we aren't used to being that vulnerable as adults.
Right. And that's why it took so long for me to even have those conversations. So if you were close to me early on, you knew that the underpin of this work was also about me. But in the course of the last couple of years, it's been kind of okay. I don't know if that's the right word, to start talking about our experiences and being vulnerable and putting yourself out there, because I remember having conversations and people like, oh, that's not really what it is. Well, and so a lot of my accomplishments came out of, okay, let me make sure that I do what I need to do in order to just kind of keep debunking what I'm hearing or I'm feeling. And it was just kind of just an evolution of being able to finally say, yes, I was experiencing racial discrimination. And although it damaged me, I mean, I can tell you about a story now of just my trauma being re-triggered. It damaged me, but at the same time, it didn't stop me, right? And so I created this world of Girls Are Powerful in a way to give back and get my message out there and use all of that computer science, statistics, leadership, all of those things in this other world, because when they were telling me I couldn't, I was in this world saying, yes, I can. But I had to support family and just kind of keep going, you know?
So when you're talking about re-triggering and stories, and I'm picking up some things you're saying, you're really saying that you were in a toxic work environment and there was racial discrimination happening, but because your family was relying on you for providing, you weren't able to say, hey, I'm out of here. Don't talk to me like that. Mic drop. You had to stay because you needed to support your family. Is that accurate?
Yeah, very, very much so. I mean, you find yourself in situations where you just have to keep going. I mean, we researched it back then that it was almost I found myself like in a battered women syndrome. That's what it's called, where you keep saying, well, maybe it's me, right? Maybe it's me. And so then you keep trying, and then finally you're like, well, no, it's not me. It's really not me. And I eventually was laid off, from that job. And I would say that was the best year. And I took a year just to spend time with Girls Are Powerful. And that was the best year ever that I was able to bring my whole self into this world of girl empowerment. So it's one of those things that you don't know what's happening while you're in it. But now that we're more talking about it, I'm like, yes, that's what I was experiencing. I'm not crazy, and having to reprogram myself to say that it's okay. You can put yourself out there. You can. And with Girls Are Powerful, I kind of always have been behind the scenes with our work. And so now it's just like me peeking out every now and then, like, hi, here I am. See me, I am here. And it's still, like I said, it's still just kind of a journey to put myself out there.
It's one of the reasons it's so important to share our stories, right? Because when you share your stories and other people go, hey, it isn't just me. I was feeling the same way and I'm not alone, but it takes a lot of courage and a lot of bravery to stand up and say, yeah, this is going on and it's not right. And it's impacted me for years. It's impacted me. And I don't want this to happen to my daughter.
Exactly. And that's the base. I do not. I wear a shirt called Mama Bear, and I do not want that to happen to her. So, the foundation of Girls Are Powerful is really like we can coexist together despite those things that are set up to divide us. When you hear the words Girls Are Powerful, that truly means that my power does not take away from your power. Our power collectively is so much stronger. If I have a seat at the table, you have a seat at a table. And that's what I'm really wanting to bring forth with our message.
It's not that girls or Black girls or trans girls or whatever it might be are taking away from something or someone. They're adding to. And that's the disappointing part, I think, of some of the conversations I've heard in the last couple of years, is these messages in general have been more out there that people get real defensive. Like, what about me? What about me? But it's no one's saying that you can't be there too. We're right. Just saying, let's add the richness and the beauty that comes with diversity of thought and culture and experience and geography. So right. It's so interesting that you said it that way, because it isn't something that means, hey, girls are powerful doesn't mean boys suck.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't at all. I remember when we were out selling our products, and I would have boys come to the table and like, well, what about me? And I literally would say, and you're handsome, you're beautiful, you're confident, and it's okay for us to have a girl focused lens. And that's where I'm coming from. And I've had conversations to say, you know, I have moms who have boys that want some programming. I said, that's great. Let's figure it out. And so those are different things that we are exploring within GRP to support our boys. I mean, because we're all powerful. I mean, I had one youth, she said, we need to do a moms are powerful. We need a dads are powerful. And I was just like, yep. And when I get that big team, we can do all of those things.
Can you imagine a world where we all walk around believing that we have and own our own power and whoever we're looking at has theirs too?
It would be such a beautiful world, right? And giving us the tools and techniques to just kind of, here's what I would say, you know, it will be beautiful if we're all owning our power, but we also need to understand that life is a roller coaster. And what we would like to do is give you the tools and techniques that you need to ride this roller coaster and come back to that stop point of knowing your worth, loving who you are, and just kind of keeping that close to mind. And even for me as an adult, that's sometimes hard. I mean, I'm in the midst of a moment of what I called transforming positivity into power. And I'm actually identifying, what am I doing to get to this power state when there's people around you that are trying to take that away from you, right? And so what are those steps along the way to get you back to your square when you get knocked off?
You mentioned how girls have just a different perspective and need a little bit more. Some girls need more empowerment and teaching that way. And I grew up at a time when the stories, once upon a time, and ended with girl meets boy and they live happily ever after. And you talked about it's a roller coaster. How can we as a society think about the messages we're sending to our young women and our young men in different ways? Because those messages are still out there. Hey, meet someone and then, you know, it's peaches and cream forever and ever. And that isn't how the world works.
I think it's open conversations, right? We have to be willing to have open conversations with what's real in our world. Everybody doesn't meet the Prince Charming or the Cinderellas. Everybody's trajectory in life is not to have a Prince Charming or a Cinderella, right? And it's having those open conversations about what is and what isn't. And I my daughter probably cringes, but I'm very open. I'm very open with her about just kind of what is and what to look out for and what to question, and trying to build those skills up in our girls. So I think it starts with just open conversations from us as adults to our children. And we have to also find that clarity, right? And what's true and where we have been blindsided in that fairy tale, because everybody doesn't live that fairy tale. Even it's all beautiful and sweet, but it's not reality for everyone, right? We have to meet everybody where they are.
If you could go back to you at that corporate job where things were difficult, now that you've done all the work that you've done and all that you know about the world and yourself now, what would you tell her when you were in that difficult situation? Would you have done it differently? Or did you need to go through that to get to where you are now?
So I think it's kind of two parts. The world. I mean, I remember sitting in HR and I'm flat out saying that I'm experiencing racism. And their response was to talk to my coworkers and ask them, have they seen anything? And I had to tell her that only person that can walk in my shoes is me. And I have no reason to make this up. And you can't ask my white counterparts if they have seen racist acts toward me. And so I think our world has to also change in order for people to be more open about their experiences. And I think we're starting to see that change. But going back, if the world was the same world, it would be the same situation, that I was the problem, and things would have still happened the way that they did. I would have tried to coach myself a little bit more, knowing that it wasn't me. But again, I think it's just the world that we live in, that if the world is not going to change, we're going to be still experiencing the same things.
Because at the end of the day, it isn't about how you should have done anything differently, right? It's about whoever was doing this to you, and have they learned more, and have they done the hard work on themselves?
Right. It's the culture. It's all about the culture. I mean, like I said, I just got promoted at work.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. And that was a very triggering time for me because, again, I remember in the interview, I said that I had to give myself permission to put myself out here for this role. And I really want to get to a point to be able to bring my whole self to work. And my whole self is my corporate Shawntan and my Girls Are Powerful Shawntan. And I want to be able to be in a space where I can bring my whole self here, because I've been living separated for a long time. For 8 years, I have been. And it was very triggering when I got the position, because I'm just like, oh my God, now everybody sees me. Now what's going to happen as a Black woman in leadership? How's that going to, just a whirlwind. And I was reassured that, it's a different time and I can speak my truth. I can show up in this world as my whole self. And so that gave me some confidence that our world has changed and we're moving in the right direction. So I'm very excited. But just know that triggering, that all of that stuff is real for individuals.
What can those of us who are trying to be part of the change so that our kids don't ever have these kinds of struggles, what can we do? What should we all do? What kind of skills, you said techniques, that you're teaching in Girls Are Powerful that would help everyone listening?
I say exposure, right? Be open to meeting people outside of your space, your bubble. So exposure, exposing our kids to different things and new people. I heard somewhere that your child will be open to diversity if you represent being open to diversity. If you have a whole host of different friends from all over, your kids will too. So having you practicing what you're trying to preach, right? Having those conversations, talking about what it means to be anti-racist and coexisting together. But you also have to figure out where you stand on this, because our kids are half of the time mimics of us, right? They represent who we are, and that's what they're bringing out into the world. So what are we practicing and preaching that they're watching? They're going to duplicate and replicate.
And as parents, I think we have to be so intentional, not just about our relationships, but also what we bring into our homes. The messages that we send, if all of the books that we read to our children when they're little are filled with white or Black or Asian, whatever it might be, to make sure that they're getting messages and seeing people of all different experiences. And even globally, there's, books all over the world that we can expose our children to. Yes, different languages, so that they understand that. I think the message that is so common is, and all children I think do this, that what happens in their home is best or right. And then they go through life and they meet other people. And I mean a healthy home. I'm not talking about a toxic home. But you meet other people, or you have that first, sleepover at someone else's house. And it's sort of mind-blowing. Like, there's a whole nother way to have a family. Because kids assume that what's happening in their house is the right and the best way. And many people, myself included, I think, take decades and probably lifelong work to unpack all of that and say, what part of this is true and what part of this is best and what part of this was society or culture or a location. And there's better ways to do things because we just know more.
Right.
But it's intentional. And I was talking to a Black woman not that long ago, and she was saying that what's happened in the last couple of years, that it's white suburban women that have to do the most work. And it was really interesting because, and I was sharing with her, for me, as a white suburban woman, I have to be really intentional. It is about going out and intentionally finding people who I can be friends with and associate with, and not in a weird way like, hey, do you want to be my friend? I need a Black friend, right? But like, how do I make sure that my tribe reflects all different types of people and experiences? But it takes work, because it just isn't, in many suburbs, just isn't that natural. You have to go out and do the work.
Right. And so it's the intentionality and the authenticity, right? And so I don't really call it the tribe, just kind of honoring
Thank
those
you.
You're right. Who came before us, but just our community, right? And really just being intentional and authentic with just kind of those relationships. I mean, you're right. You don't want to just say, oh, I just need a Black friend. Where are you? Because people can feel that, and people can and sense that. And so you don't want to be that person. But if you're truly, I mean, those things happen, and it just kind of comes. And I'm blessed to have a wide variety of friends from across the rainbow that show up for me in different ways and the same ways. And I just think that it's just something that just happens when you are intentional and authentic with who you surround yourself with.
And you realize very quickly, we're way more alike than different.
We are. Yeah. I mean, and that's what we talk about in GRP, right? Once you take away those things that are set up to divide us, race, location, when you peel all of those things back, it just kind of sits with, we're going through changes, and we're all going through changes at certain times, and we're experiencing the same thing. So how do we deal with that? And then we put the lens on all of those other things, because it's going to look different for everybody. But we give them those tools to say how they should show up in the world, right? How I say this because just yesterday I was facilitating a session with a couple of youth, and one youth said, "And I am powerful," and I said, "And you're beautiful, you're smart, you're confident, unique, and you're determined. And I need you all to just kind of embrace that, just on the foundational level, that you have everything that you need within you already." And so we just need to just kind of talk about how do we bring that out for it to show up and show out for you. And that's what our work is about.
You've done this work for several years, you talked about, and
8
you've
years.
helped 30, I have a number here, 3,500 girls that you've worked with across the country. What are some of the benefits that you've seen now that you have the gift of looking back and seeing how some of these young women have progressed in their life? What tangible things are you seeing that are coming to fruition as they enter colleges or workplaces, or to show up to their family different and better?
I think it's that intentionality, right? So when we're talking, them intentionally saying that I love myself, I'm going to love those across the aisle for me, and the way that they are supporting their community, the way that they are showing up in their families. I was hearing them talk yesterday, and it was several girls who have been with us for 3+ years. And just hearing them saying, yep, I'm embracing my power. I know that I'm this, and I know that I'm that. And I'm just like, and that's what we want. Just kind of keeping that message going. And then here's another piece of the toolkit for you to just kind of keep that moving forward. So I forgot the question.
You answered it.
Okay,
you answered
awesome.
it. And I think something that has played out in the last 5 minutes in our conversation is something that I want to highlight, which is we all have to be open to learning more and doing better. And I said tribe, and you said, hey, yeah, I'm not going to say that. And I know that, but it had been part of my vernacular for so long that it's hard to take some words out, and I catch myself. So I really appreciate and want to thank you for mentioning it and reminding me that we know more.
Mm-hmm. So when you know better, you do better. And that's where we support each other to help. We're not here to ostracize or anything like that. It's about just kind of, we teach each other as we go, and we have to continue to grow together. So I'm not out here saying that I didn't say that you were wrong. I mean, that's what's in your world of worlds. But for me, I don't use that term. And see, it wasn't to shun you or anything like that, but it's, when we know better, we do better.
There was just recently a sermon that I was listening to, and it talked about if someone has their shoe untied, you say, hey, your shoe's untied. And they don't go, what? Don't touch. What are you talking about? My shoe. And that's the same thing as how we need to approach things that as we learn more and we do better is, hey, I'm just giving you some information. You want to bend over and tie your shoe? That's on you. You might trip, but you might fall. The next person might not be as nice as me, but that's on you.
Exactly.
So I think it's just about language and so many things that culture is waking up to and changing and shifting, and we're getting better.
We are. And that's just like saying, I don't see color. And I remember having that conversation like 5 or 6 years ago, and the person was like, I don't see color. And I was like, you can't say that because I need you to see me, right? You have to see that I look different than you. I am different than you. Because if you don't see color, you completely erase a huge part of who I am. And so we have to see color and we have to have those conversations. And it's not that I know there's this, I don't know what to call it. Is it the stance? It's the stance right now. It's just like, you go figure it out, right? We're not here to teach you about the cultural things. And I don't really think that's my approach. It's just like, if I know, I'm gonna assist, because we can't do this alone. We didn't just get in this situation just yesterday. We got to unpack a lot of this stuff together. And there is some individual work that each one of us have to do, and we have to do our work. But at the same time, my approach is to assist where I can.
And to teach the next generation, because it's so much about being curious, right? And being curious about different people's experiences, because to understand someone where they are now is to be curious and interested in their story and how they got to where they are today. And that isn't just a white experience or a Black experience. All of our stories deserve to be told and to be honored.
Yes, and we have to listen. We have to be willing to listen to learn, not to respond. That's another thing that we have to be willing to listen and not be in the space of wanting to pounce and respond. Listen to what the other person is saying, right?
Or convert them. Like, I'm going to change you.
Right.
Doesn't work.
Exactly. Right. I used to always call it like, could you stop auto-correcting me because I don't use tomato, you use tomato. It's okay, right? Don't auto-correct me. Really honoring the person that's in front of you. Ask for clarification where it's needed, but don't try to change them. Don't try to convert them. Respect and honor who they are.
If your work with Girls Are Powerful could do one thing, what do you hope it does?
The one thing that I would want Girls Are Powerful to change is how our girls are seen in the world today, how they're respected, and the space being open to be treated as equals. Is equals the right word? But treated on the same playing field as those who have come before us, that's in power, right? Create that same intentionality and power for our girls. So they can show up as their true selves and change the world.
I love how you just added that in. And change the world.
And change the world. That's my goal right now. How can I change the world? Little by little.
Day by day, step by step. I love your title, Empowerment Strategist.
Yes.
What does that mean?
So everything that I do is about empowering of self and others. And so when I found myself in situations saying that I am the founder and CEO of Girls Are Powerful, I realized that I'm so much more, right? There's so much more to who I am. And so remember, I talked about kind of coming out from hiding. And this was my way of working to show myself in the work that I do. And Empowerment Strategist is me being that person to not only empower myself, but empower everyone that I come in contact with.
I love the empower myself and everyone I come in contact with. Those two things can happen at the same time.
Yes, they can. I mean, my brand right now is that transforming, my personal brand is transforming positivity into power, right? And so I go through moments of trying to figure out how to be a good human, how to know that I'm possible, understanding that I got this, whatever comes my way, right? Being of service. So I have all of these different motivations that's tied to what it means to empower myself and transform my positivity into power.
people who may not have been familiar with Girls Are Powerful and want to get involved or join you, what can they do besides go to the website, which we'll put a link on the Flip Your Script podcast website as well?
Yeah, so when you go up to the website, you can hop over to our volunteer page and send in a request. We are in the midst of building out our very first mentor program. And it's one that I'm very proud of, and we definitely need some support there. So volunteering is one. Donations are always welcome. We are still a small organization, although we're 8 years this month. We're still a small organization that funding it will always help us and get the word out. I mean, tell someone else about us. Just kind of keep spreading a message about our work and supporting us in that way.
And remember, girls are powerful.
Girls are powerful. Yes, we are.
You're a testament to that and all the work that you're doing and all the ways you're making a difference every day. What is, as we close out the podcast, what is a quote or a scripture or song that has motivated you as you've done the hard work of flipping your script?
All right. So the quote I would like to share is, do you know what happens when you decide to stop worrying about what other people might think of you? You get to dance, you get to sing, you get to laugh loudly, paint, write, and create. You get to be yourself. And you know what? Some people won't like you. Some will laugh or mock or point out flaws, but it just won't bother you all that much. Doe.
Fantastic. Own your power.
Own your power. Step into your power.
And empower those around you.
Exactly. Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. Appreciate the work that you're doing, and I look forward to seeing what happens as more girls realize they're powerful and we look around us, all of us, and think about how can I step into my power and help someone else step into theirs.
Exactly. Thank you for having me.
I'm going to end this podcast by taking something that is right off of Shawntan's website, her 8 motivations. Be a good human. Breathe. Give grace. I'm possible. Love yourself. Take up space. You got this. Do the work. And be of service. My hope is Shawntan's story empowers you to believe you're capable of more than you think, to discover motivation, to uncover inspiration, and to find the strength to turn the page.
Thank you for listening to Flip Your Script, hosted by Kristi Piehl and produced by Media Minefield. If you like our message, please be sure to give us a 5-star rating, subscribe to the show, and share our episodes with your family and friends. Do you or someone you know have a story about flipping your script? We'd love to share it. Contact us on our website, flipyourscriptpodcast.com. To stay up to date on all things Flip Your Script, make sure to follow host Kristi Piehl on social media. You can also check out the website for pictures, resources mentioned in the show, and other great episodes.